Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I want to introduce Nathan McKay, and he's here to talk about this new and, well, not very new, but still very good book, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Please welcome Ice Cube protester Nathan McKay. So,
Hello. Oh wait, do I come in yet? Okay.
yes.
All right. I didn't know if that was my cue or not. All right. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, well, I have a couple questions to ask you about the book, just for some knowledge on it.
The knowledge.
Knowledge is key. All right, what did you really like about the novel?
So I like that the author made the book so that it was from the perspective or point of view from a child, and they didn't ever make the child. Or how do I say this? So they made it so the child was very naive. They made it so Bruno had no idea what was going on. He couldn't put two and two together that hey, my friend keeps getting bruised and stuff every time he comes back to the fence every once in a while. But I also see people from the window getting attacked and stuff. So I don't know, is he getting hurt? I don't know, maybe, probably not. He fell off his bike.
Yes, that was very nice thought. Now, second question: is there anything you do not like or disagree with in the novel?
Honestly, the way Gretel's character changed, it was so fast. One day they were like, "Yo, you see these dolls? I I I talk to them because I'm a small being child." But then all of a sudden, the next day, she threw out all her 40 bags of dolls, and then the next day she has maps all over the walls of where the German army is, conquering and doing the war.
Yes, very fast character change.
I can't
All right, on
like
to the next question. Did the
okay.
storyline have a compelling plot?
Um, the beginning was kind of boring. It was hard to want to keep reading, but towards the end it got really interesting, and it was hard to put the book down. You know, it started off slow, but it eventually ended up being pretty good. It was pretty compelling ending. I think I'm just used to books like Harry Potter that have J.K. Rowling is a genius. She has really compelling plots in the story. It's impossible to put the book down at any point in the story, except for a little bit in the beginning. But other than that, it's really hard to stop reading those books. So I think my standards have just been heightened from reading those kind of books. But
Yes.
other pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, now, fourth question. Were the events of the novel believable?
Yeah, but sometimes it was toned down a little bit, so it wouldn't be anything graphic because it's still made for from fifth or sixth graders up to grade 9 or somewhere around there. So they had to make it enough so that it was still kind of correct, but it wasn't as near as bad as it actually was. So it wasn't it was it was believable in some places, but other places kind of struggled. But I understand why it had to do that to be able to be considered like a kid's book.
Yes, I agree. Okay, who was your favorite character in the novel and why?
Pavel, I mean, he's a good doctor. He when Bruno fell off the tire, scraped his knee up, thought he was gonna die, but it really wasn't that bad. Pavel just came to the rescue, even though he knows that when he did that, he could have gotten into a heck of a lot of trouble. But he still did it just to make sure Bruno was doing okie dokie, even though he is the lead soldier's other than the Fury's like son. So could have just left him there and been like, "Hey, your dad hurts me. Now it's your turn," or something like that.
Yeah, okay, revenge. But I see how he's your favorite character. Now, next question. Who was your least favorite character? Please support your answer.
I mean, like I feel like if I say anyone other than the Fury, I'm gonna get in trouble because like he's the one he's the reason that everything bad is happening. The one he's the one behind all of the he's the man behind the slaughter. And I feel like he's he's one of the worst humans to ever exist. So I feel like if I chose anyone else, that would just be kind of incorrect.
Yes, that's very true. Okay, now, would you change anything about the novel if you were the author?
If I was the author, first of all, I wouldn't have been able to make the book. Like it's an amazing book. Like it's very well written, but I wouldn't have been able to do anything near as good. But I think the one of the things that I would have changed are probably the obviously that Gretel is I would have made her character change happen over time in the book instead of just like uh one page she's or one chapter she's talking to dolls, the next one she's got maps all over her walls and stuff like that. uh and I don't I feel like the when Hitler came over to have dinner with them, I feel like even though he was a real jerk there, he was probably even more of a jerk, and I feel like they could have toned even that up a little bit, how much of a jerk he was.
Yes, very good points. All right, now, what feelings or emotions did you encounter while you read the novel?
I mean, like, it was pretty sad. Like, almost any time that Bruno was hanging out with Shmuel, because almost every single time, actually, I don't, I don't like pronouncing his name Shmuel. I'm just gonna pronounce it Shummel because that's how I thought it was in the beginning of the book, because I was misreading it, and I just didn't care that it was actually pronounced a different way. So I'm gonna call him Shummel. So I was pretty upset almost at any time that Shummel and Bruno were together because it was obvious that Shummel was just like he was suffering and that Bruno was being a bit of a meanie, even though he didn't know it, and was eating Shummel's food while he was coming over to give it to him. And like you could tell that Schummel was suffering, and he really wanted to tell Bruno, but he didn't know what would happen if he did, because he might be like, "Whoa, I want to stay away from here, because I don't want to get in trouble and stuff by the the soldiers and stuff." So I could tell that I just felt really bad for uh, Schummel like the entire time, and obviously at the end of the book that was like insanely sad that happened to Bruno. His small child, innocent child, didn't know he was doing anything wrong. And then, well, I mean, he wasn't really doing anything wrong. He was just friends with Schummel, and then dead.
Yes, yes, that would be the end of the story. All right, next question. What did you learn while reading the novel?
Okay, so for some reason, I didn't know that the prisoners wore striped pajamas. I don't know if they actually wore striped pajamas or if it was like the black and white uh like outfits that prisoners are usually given, like in the cartoons, or if it was actually striped pajamas, like it's called. And also, I didn't know that people were. I knew people got gassed, but I didn't know people got literally incinerated. That is terrifying. Uh, and then I also thought that instead of a bunch of different camps, I thought it was just one humongous camp in one spot. So that was also um, that was also something that I didn't know about.
Yes, those are some new things to learn. All right. Um, do other books exist that are similar to this novel? and research and find the name of 2 books that have a similar theme.
So, yeah, there's a lot of other books that have to do with like the topic of like racism and discrimination and stuff. The 2 that I found, and one of them I've read, is the Underground Railroad. The one that we read in grade 5 was about slavery and the slaves having to come to Canada without getting caught. That was a lot about racism. And then something about the same thing that Shmuel was in, the Holocaust, the Anne Frank diary. That had, I don't really know if that's a book because it's really just like the diary of what happened. That's literally like, it's a diary. Like, I don't know if that constitutes as a book as much as like just actually like okay, so would you consider newspaper to be a book? Probably not. Even though like it was kind of in a novel format, like because it was in an actual book with different pages and stuff. Like it was more of a documentation of what was actually happening. So I don't know if you could really call that a novel or a book, but it's still something that like you can read, and it's about a certain kind of topic. So yeah, the
Yeah.
Anne Diary.
Yes. Okay. 2 good books to read. Yes. If you were to rate the book out of 10, what would you give it? And support your answer and tell whether or not you would recommend the book to a friend.
I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Like the beginning was a bit slow and boring. It wasn't as realistic as it could have been, but that could also be seen as a good thing in some other ways. Like, uh, if you're giving the book to 5th graders, like some kids in our class read it when they were in the 5th grade, then obviously you don't want to tell them about the people being incinerated and gassed and stuff like that. Uh, but like for our grade, they could have gone into a little bit more detail about what was actually happening. I think, but not obviously not too much that it was extremely graphic or anything. But I would recommend it to someone if they were wanting to learn about the tragedies of the Holocaust, but like not too much into like graphic detail or anything like that. So it was like a kind of something to just learn what it was like to live in times like that, like from another person's perspective, like Bruno's.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have for you now. Thank you for coming on the show. And there will not be a wet next time because we've gone bankrupt. See you later. Isn't there a TikTok thing saying I like ice chips?
Yeah, ice chips, not ice cubes.
What's the difference?
Ice chips are smaller and they don't take up as much space.
Okay.
Like whenever you drink like iced tea and you get a whole ice cube in your mouth, that sucks. But if you get a little ice chip, it's okay.
It's like a second drink though.
Yeah, but it hurts. It hurts in your mouth
Well,
a bit.
you have to munch fast enough, then
That's
deal with the
just
consequences after.
it's like it's a painful sound.
Well, I mean, crunch.
Okay.
Okay, let's get. Okay.